again, thanks everybody for joining. We'll get started here. Just get right into it. So, just to introduce the webinar, we do one of these a month. This webinar for this month is going to be aptly titled From 1 to 1 Million. We're going to be talking about party machines. Our lovely co-host Greg Gordon is going to go through his story as a business owner, how he got his start, and kind of talk through his strategic process, his line of thinking. Just a nice conversation about the evolution of a business from the turn of the century until now, which is a lot has changed, obviously. So, to start some introductions, for those of you who don't know me, I am John May. I am the head of customer engagement here and the face of WebGility, whether I like that or not. It is what I am now. So, Greg, I'll let you introduce yourself. Take it away.
My name is Greg Gordon from Austin, Texas, and I have been self-employed my entire adult life. We're going to talk about all this stuff. I love snowboarding. I found that 13 years ago while I was living in China, and I spend a really good bit of my winter snowboarding in Colorado now. And my goal presently is to work less and it's working out.
We love that. I think that's everybody's goal, right? Is to work a little bit less at the very least. So love that. Um, for the agenda today, we're going to talk through, again, start with Greg's story, how it started versus how it's going. We'll move into some of the strategy behind Greg's decision making, kind of where he wanted to take the business, the challenges or issues that he ran into, and how he kind of overcame those. We'll spend a little bit of time at the end talking about social media and influencers and just how that fits into the current landscape of e-commerce and really where to be looking for that sort of thing. And then we'll end it with a Q&A. And on the Q&A, and I always say this on the webinars, I encourage that you guys engage when you do have questions. Don't feel the need to save your questions until the very end for the Q&A. If you have something that you wanted to ask in the moment, drop it in the chat or in the Q&A box, and we can get to it. If it's not directly related to what we're talking about, we may hold it until we have a break or until the end. But feel free to drop it as it comes. We are more than happy to go into a conversation there. So. I did also want to start the webinar out here before we really dive into things with a quick poll. I just wanted to get a sense for how long you guys have been in business. So I'm going to launch that poll here. If you guys could take a second, just answer how long you have been in business. If you don't own your business or you just work for a business, you can just use how long they've been in business. It's just always good to see where people are at here and how long you guys have been going at it. And we got about 54% answered currently. We'll give it another couple seconds just to let everybody get their answers in. And it's funny, it's pretty evenly distributed across all of the answers here. So I'll end it here, and right now we've got about 11% for the under a year, 11% for 6 to 10 years, 22% for both 1 to 5 and 21 plus years. Crazy. That's awesome. You guys are still going at it. And then about 33% of you, a third of you, are between the 11 and 20 year range. So that's awesome. It's a pretty good mix. Really cool to see businesses that have been going for decades plus. So awesome. All right, and we're going to start off again, just diving into Greg's story. The way that I formulated these slides is just kind of ask a couple questions, give a couple points, and then let Greg kind of take it away. So, yeah, as far as the start of your business, Greg, if you want to go through like the infant stages of the business and how that started.
Sure, I like to start before because as a kid in the Boy Scouts, I learned goal setting, and by the time I graduated high school, I knew that I was going to go to college. And I'm specific and deliberate with my words because words have meaning. I was going to go to college, and then I was going to work for myself, and I was going to run for office, and I was going to travel. So after 5 years of college in May of '96, when all my friends were pretty much graduated, I decided I'd stop going to college too because it was time to start working for myself. And I don't know how many of you, but hey man, you didn't graduate. I'm like, I decided to buy three used vending machines in a pickup truck. And for the sake of the time, 2 years later, I had 44 vending machines and Coke machines and Pepsi machines. And I was working all the time, waiting tables to support my soda machine habit, or as I like to say, to support my Coke habit. And I had the suggestion from somebody I worked with to buy some margarita machines, frozen drink machines, and rent them out on the weekends. And quickly, four frozen margarita machines made me more money than 44 vending machines. So I essentially threw the vending and soda machines in the trash can, and I was off the races. And by this time, I bought a house because I could not afford to pay rent. So I had two roommates paying most of my mortgage, and I was working from my garage with my four margarita machines, which got up to 12. And then in November '01, I came in third out of eight in the Austin mayor's race. This is all part of the story. 2 years before that, I got my partymachines.com website to advertise my frozen margarita machine business in Austin, Texas. And not one person that I knew at the time thought it was a good idea because it didn't say Austin or Central Texas or margarita. But from college marketing, Dr. Carner at the University of Texas, marketing 320F, he said, if you're in the Italian leather loafer business, somebody walks into your store and says, I need a pair of Italian leather loafers. And I'd also like a handkerchief. You don't say go to the handkerchief store. You run out the back door, you get a handkerchief, you come back in, you sell them both. So you're in the apparel business. That plus the high school job that I had in Beaumont, Texas, where I worked at a women's shoe store. I listened to a lady, for the sake of the story, say flat black shoes, and I watched her walk out with high-heeled white shoes. I went to my boss at the time, Max Spector, and I said, hey, man. He goes, no, 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 no. You did not see the lady. She walked into my store waving money, said, take my money, give me shoes. So with Max's lesson and Dr. Carter's lesson, I got partymachines.com. After I ran for mayor, I'd sold my house, moved into an apartment by myself with five margarita machines, and I got a call from somebody helping me do search engine optimization in 2002 from the margarita machine rental business in Austin, Texas with partymachines.com. Inside of a week or so after her $100 lesson, everything under the sun related to a party, I would get a phone call. And one of them was a fraternity at the University of Texas who had rented from me the summer before. They said, Greg, we need two margarita machines again. We also need to rent a foam machine. Can you rent us that? And I said, yeah, I can rent you a foam booth. They said foam, F-O-A-M. And I said, that's what I said. He said, what do you charge? I said, what'd you pay last year? He said, $1,400. I said, man, that's exactly what I charge. So I was going to get $1,400 to rent a foam machine and $200 to rent two margarita machines. Each of the margarita machines was 185 pounds. The foam machine was 40 pounds. So I was off the races. So now, fast forward to 2007, I didn't dislike, I didn't strongly dislike, I hated renting to the fraternities because they're just not the best customers, although they paid so much more money than the margarita machine rental customers. And '07 was 2 years after I'd finally stopped renting margarita machines, and I began making and selling the foam machines and a liquid bubble stock for this 5-gallon cup, which were expensive. I discovered going to trade shows was the way to, at that time, to do it. So I shifted my partymachines.com website into all foam all the time. And by 2007, I stopped. I made a conscious effort to stop renting because I could get my evenings, weekends, holidays, and Monday afternoons back. And I could sell a person a foam machine and sell them or the bubbles and give them the foam machine for free. And then I could sell them the bubbles over and over again. I could help them with marketing because I enjoy marketing. And the trade shows catapulted me. The website catapulted me. Facebook came along, and then all the social media came along. And then I got the opportunity to go to China. And then I spent 33 months there between 2010 and 2013 learning the manufacturing. Not the manufacturing, that's what I thought, but I learned how to deal with the people and the culture to get my products. And then another big shift was the liquid foam, because I would go to a trade show and sell the stuff, and I'd go back the next year. They're like, man, we make this stuff ourselves. It's cheaper than buying it from you. I'm like, yeah. And one guy, and it was, again, not my idea. Somebody says, hey, man, make it a powder. So I figured that out. And then I got a packaging machine eventually. So 2013, liquid went to a powder. 2017, I got a packaging machine. And now here we are. I'm talking.
I love that. I love that. I love the evolution of the business. I mean, it's not exactly where you saw yourself taking it at first, but it evolved into something that
No,
truly it works for you for sure. And I know you mentioned some time abroad in China. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of
yes,
what you really learned? I know you said you learned a lot of the culture. What were your like your biggest takeaways of your time in China?
I love that question. And I've been home for 11 years, and it's like layers of an onion. The running for mayor stuff was layers of an onion. Still, all these years later, peeling back lessons, peeling back lessons about the living in China. The biggest thing is you don't know what you don't know. If something sounds interesting and intriguing, and it's not going to kill you, and it's not illegal, try it. I learned how to delegate more because I bought a warehouse that I still work out of in '09. I bought it. So August will be 15 years, and I'm proud of that. That's the one in Lockhart out by the Formula One track, and which wasn't there when I bought it. So property value is good. Side note, the I learned to delegate better. I learned to rely, not so much trust because I struggle with that still, but rely on others to do stuff. I learned to um, deal with different cultures, not just Chinese, but being in Beijing was like being in DC or London or Paris, is a nation's capital, and it's a world capital. So I learned that we may all speak the same language, or the other people from the other countries all speak English, but our cultures are very, very, very different. I learned that the world is smaller than I thought, and the opportunities are limitless to do whatever from wherever, whenever.
I love that. I love that. I like the tidbit about the world being a lot smaller because well, yeah, when you look at things from a really high level and see how especially in like the e-commerce world and business in general, there are a lot of similarities across the board in how everything is run, outside of culture specifically, where we do sort of speak the same language in a lot of ways. Even outside of just speaking English, I think we understand basic principles, and that communicates across uh, industries and uh, different businesses and stuff like that. So, what made you move to China?
A handful of things, and I've had this question a lot, and I've had plenty of time to think about it because at first I was bored. I bought my warehouse, and I had a guy named Tony working for me, and I told him I was going for the summer, and I was paying an American 30% on top of the cost of the product to buy it for me in China. And I'm a networker. I'm a social person. So this guy was making 30% or doing what I can tell you today is nothing. Um, so I took the challenge and the opportunity to go over there for the summer, and that 3 months stretched into 33 months. The stars aligned. I bought the warehouse. I had Tony working for me. When I was there January 2010 for the entire month, I randomly met a guy that I'd known in Austin, Texas from a college job who was there with his wife and two children. So I had an instant best friend. And then I met this 100%. There's pictures of me with the hiking people in China. I met that hiking group when I was there. So when I got back 3 months later for good, I hit the ground running. I got help with an apartment, cell phone, a bank account, and I had an instant network of full on local Chinese folks to help me find whatever I wanted or needed. Um, I wanted a challenge, and it worked out. I wanted the challenge. I love, love figuring out the puzzle.
That's great. Yeah. As far as the puzzle goes, I guess when you returned to Austin, you said it was 2013, right? When you returned?
Yes,
What was the first thing you did? Like what was your first plan of action when you got back?
that's a new one. Man, I don't know. I can tell you that it took me. It took me. I had reverse culture shock.
Oh, I'm
It
sure.
took
Yeah.
me a year to recover emotionally. Um, I hit the ground running. I would cover my mouth a lot when I would speak to people. because I want to say, well, in China.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I'm home. And I realize, plan of action, I can, like to this day, I maintain relationships with some of those vendors where I buy the equipment. Uh, and my friends, they're still my friends. Like I was there in October because I had not been since before the pandemic. So I went back to see friends and vendors. And it was, I think I sleep easier and better knowing that I have that. And it's not that I have it in my back pocket, but I have that because in the space in which I thrive and make a very good living, um, I'm king of the mountain. I've always said, and you've heard this, that you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. But in my little bitty foam room, which makes me a really good living, I'm the smartest guy. And I credit that to my time in China.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like you, a lot of, like you said, a lot of stars aligned, a lot of things got put into place for you to find this pocket of the industry and kind of put roots down. And I guess we'll end the story portion of it. I guess the overarching theme with where things are at for you currently. I know you mentioned you had the liquid formula at some point that kind of shifted the business, lowered some overhead costs. You added packing machines and some automation, again lowering overhead costs. You made the choice to kind of dive into Amazon, as seeing that as like a huge opportunity, which definitely paid off, I think. And then, yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about how the pandemic sort of changed things even further with you diving into social media from there.
The yeah, when I got rid of the liquid foam solution and switched to solely
The
selling a
powder, yeah.
powder foam solution, it allowed me to have exponential growth because of the reduced cost of everything because I don't ship water anymore. And then when I added the $250,000 setup to have the packaging machine, which makes the foam powder, that's a creates a barrier to entry, unlike the selling liquid to make the bubbles for the next guy wanting to quote unquote compete. And because of the my buying power in China, it's not it's not complicated. It's not nothing's easy. It's not complicated for me to give the machines away for free when they buy a certain dollar amount of the foam. And it's really easy to ship because we actually today I got an email from UPS. There was a package of the foam that was broken, and I think that's the first one this year. Liquid would be 20%, 20% of the box would break. So that's a time management thing. I don't remember the question. Oh, and the stepping into Amazon. That was again. It seems to always be somebody else's suggestion that I run with. I have the ability to do the follow through, and I didn't dream this big. I've always set goals, but where I am, it's beyond, and I just have set bigger goals, which I'm working on. Um, because the Amazon is all over the world. I've always been selling all over the world for a long time, probably since '03, '04, but now it's an exponential growth. It's and then the pandemic, outdoor parties, phone machines blew up, and then I had my TikTok went from 2 followers to 1.2 million. Now it's at 1.3 million, and that was growth in about a year. And that was because I've been ahead of the curve on the social media stuff from day one and consistent with the posting. And I had a couple of college kids. They're now married. They were working for me for about 2 or 3 years before the pandemic and then through the pandemic. And then they moved on to their own things because they got their engineering degree from Texas A&M and M, and they got married and got real jobs. And I think they're doing the social media marketing stuff and they're using my accounts. They're like, look what we did. And now they're crushing it on their own.
Awesome. Yeah, I you love to hear a good success story, especially on TikTok, because it can seem really daunting, and it is. It's definitely not an easy thing to dip your toes into, and especially if you're trying to take it from like you said, 12 to 1.2 million, 1.3 million followers. That's not easy. That's not something that happens for a lot of people. So yeah, I wanted to double click a little bit on that a little later. But yeah, we'll take it into more of a, I guess we just wanted to pick your brain on the strategy behind it all, the thought process that you employ when thinking about your business and taking new risks. So to dive into that, one thing that I did want to call out was your niche. Obviously, um, foam machines, foam parties, not exactly, it's not like you're selling t-shirts, right? It's different. It's a very niche market. I know we talked a little bit about what kind of led you to selling foam. But as far as like the doubling down and continuing to kind of immerse yourself in this industry, what caused you to do that? Was there something that really kind of encouraged you to stay in the industry? Did you have any doubts specifically around how niche this was, or were you really confident the whole way through?
I could only compare it to what I was doing previously. That was because self-employed. I waited tables. I went into self-employment. So the soda machines were worse than the margarita machines. The margarita machine rentals were not as good as the foam machine rentals. And then there was more staying power by, for me, longevity to sell the machines and encourage the people to rent them out and then to buy the bubbles from me over and over again. What encouraged me to stay in it, I was making enough money to buy groceries in order to eat. And it's really, really that basic and simple. Did I have doubts? Yes. Do I have doubts every winter? Absolutely. And then I look at my checking account. People like to look at the numbers and statistics and, oh, look at your growth. And I'm like, look at your checking account. Um, and have you been sued lately? Just it's there's so many things that happen that I equate to success. Has somebody asked you for money lately? Family member, friend.
That's a
That
good
means
one.
you're doing something right. I'm like, my goodness. Do I recommend anybody? No, I do not recommend to invent the wheel. I reinvented the wheel when I started in 2002. Foam machine rentals. They were doing foam parties at clubs and fraternities. Thumbs down, thumbs down. The kids' foam party did not exist until I started doing this, and it's humbling. And it is still tiny, 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 tiny. They're coming out of China like gangbusters. They're on Amazon. There's all these different ones. And for every new person that every time somebody new starts selling foam machine, I can feel it and increase sales because the thing that you don't want is to be the only one doing it. It was cool because of my margin. My margins were really big. Now there's more people selling it, so my margins are shrinking, but my sales have gone up exponentially because
Yeah.
the other people are out there selling the stuff. Yeah, and now I don't know if we're going to get to it, but I'm evolving into selling bath bombs and shower steamers and bath products because of my China connections and my supplier of the foam solution. I had lunch with him in early November, and he said, "Greg, bath bombs." I said, "I get it," and so now those are coming.
Honestly, yeah, I did want to talk about that a little bit, and we can talk about it here now. Spotting opportunities, I think that lines up really well with this. So, whether it's switching to the powdered solution, automating your packing process, selling bath bombs and shower steamers, I know you've kind of mentioned that it's been suggested to you in the past, but where do you, I guess, like, how do you know when to go for a green light for some of these things? Like,
Uh,
what encourages
you
you to
don't.
kind of take the leap?
You don't. So I've paid the consultants. I've had the free consultants, and nobody knows your business better than you know your business. Trust your gut. And I'm not religious, and I don't read those self-help books. I can tell you what I've done, and I can tell you that it works for me. I did not. You don't know what you don't know. They hit me. I'm in the right mood, and I just happened to be in the right mood with Mr. Zhang in Shanghai in a restaurant having the best food I've had on that trip. And he said, "Greg, you good marketing. bath bomb, shower steamers. Companies from China sell Amazon. You better. And that's pretty close to the way he said it too. And I said, I get it. And so then that made sense. And all the worst part about that is that I had recently, before having lunch with him, back in the US, I'd paid a consultant $6,000. And all that stupid consultant wanted to tell me was, you need to work on your mission statement and you need a foam gun. Guns kill people. It's got a negative connotation. You can take your mission statement and shove it up your butt because you suck at your job. And before that, I've had people all the time, oh, what's next? That's for 20 years. What's next? And everybody thinks another toy. When I give away or sell the machines break. Not every day, not every week or month, but sometimes they almost never call about the consumable. The bath bombs disappear in the shower or in the bathtub, and then they want to buy more. And also, I think about the number of people every day that go to a foam party versus the number of people every day that take a bath or a shower. That's an easy, easy addition. The margin is smaller, yes, but it is so many more sales. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, my checking account's going to look bigger as I start, because I started selling the bath bomb and shower steamers on Amazon about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And now I've got the next batch of stuff coming in that are going. I get excited and I talk fast, so I have to slow myself down. The next batch of bath bombs that I have coming in, they're going to be customized for regions. Like I'm going to have some for the mountains in Colorado. I'm going to have some for Austin tourists to take when they leave home. And that's just if we're talking again in 2 years, John May, the bath bombs will be so much larger than the foam, and the foam will continue to grow too.
Yeah, I think so. I think
So
it's
yeah, so what?
easy.
Yeah,
It's easy in retrospect to look at bath bombs and be like, oh yeah, I guess that was the right move. But yeah, it really
I
speaks
found
to
it.
just go ahead.
I found an email from 2012. Somebody wanted me to do bath bombs, one of the vendors, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. So I'm ready now. So and
No,
and,
it's
and then Amazon. I don't know how it got into Amazon. I think probably enough people said to me just in passing, "Why aren't you selling on Amazon?" And then I
so
started, and
so I guess
now,
everybody on this call, this is your person in your ear telling you to sell on Amazon, is what it sounds like.
oh my gosh, if you're not selling on Amazon, call me. I will bang your head. I will help you bang your head against the wall. Sell on Amazon. If you have a product to sell it on Amazon. If you're not gonna, yeah, I can, yeah, sell your stuff on Amazon, and it's also on Walmart.com. There, but that's more work.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
not as
similar
big, but
in execution though, right? Like it's a very similar environment.
the
So I think yeah,
the
Amazon and Walmart go hand in hand in that way.
you got it. The analogy is you got John and Greg's coffee shop next door to Starbucks. John and Greg have the best coffee. I mean, it is mostly better. It costs less money. Starbucks has a line around the corner, and John and Greg's has two people inside. It's the brand you know. Sell your
Yeah.
stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that we talk a lot about here at Webgility too, is just like not even just Amazon, but putting your name out there in as many places as you can is never going to have a net negative impact. Obviously, consider things like your own bandwidth and your ability to like manage those channels. But yeah, if you haven't started selling on Amazon, super important that you do. You're utilizing their network and their branding and um, saving a lot of time and money yourself that maybe a
Do I
custom
need to
site
touch?
wouldn't help.
Do I need to touch on competitors yet?
Honestly, I think now is a good time to talk about it. I think everybody on this call
If
probably has competitors, so it's a good thing to touch
if
on.
if you notice, I use phrases. I would not, and will never mention the name of anybody else who sells foam because any press is good press. And I use the phrase "people who compete against me" because I don't consider them. My competitor is me. I am my own worst enemy, and I try to be a little bit less of my own worst enemy every day.
Yeah, I
That's
like that.
it. Do not spend any energy Whatever energy you're spending on the other folks in your industry, you could be taking that energy and spending it on yourself. My dear friend Adam Tate taught me that years ago. He said, Greg Gordon, you've got this much energy like the boxing game when you lose your energy. Why would you spend any bit of that energy on something that's not you and not helping you make more money? So stop that. I said, I love you, Adam Tate.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think there's like at least some level of energy that you can dedicate to it and just like understanding what's out there, right? Like it's never a bad thing to
Yes. And then,
understand what people
but
are
not on a
doing,
regular basis.
but don't put all of your energy into it. Don't look over the fence too often. I think having a clear vision of what you want your business to be and sticking with that vision and having confidence in your own business is probably the better way to go. So yeah, I think that's really good advice. As far as like getting started on Amazon and selling on Amazon, do you have any, I guess, cautionary advice, any issues that you run into, things that people should be aware of, I
Yes.
guess?
Yes. You want to, number one, you want to pay USPT, US Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO.gov. Buy your trademark. That's going to take you a year, but buy your trademark and forget about pay for it and do that. That's one. And then, so when you officially get your trademark, you could submit that to Amazon. And you don't need to pay the consultants. You can do it yourself. Amazon has all the help within Amazon for free. So you can figure it out on your own, and you're going to have people around you who are going to tell you it's expensive and it's complicated and they take too much and it's not fair. Those people aren't doing it. Do not figure it out yourself. It's magnificent. Amazon is the greatest.
Awesome. Awesome. And then I see Christine Davison, you have your hand raised. Did you have a question? I can allow you to talk if you wanted to take the mic for a second. I'll allow you to talk. I've never done this before, so this is a fun exercise. It's saying you're muted. She may have raised her hand accidentally, which is totally fine. But cool. If there are no questions, okay, perfect. No worries, Christine. We'll move forward and go to the social media angle. I know this is a super top of mind thing for everybody. I know we just got off the back of a webinar last month that we hosted with TikTok, talking about starting a TikTok, sort of the trepidations that people have around starting a TikTok. We talked about the sort of elephant in the room of TikTok having um, that looming ban around the corner and if it's even worth it to get on it. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain, Greg, on your experiences with TikTok, what kind of convinced you to make the jump into it. Obviously, the pandemic had a probably not zero impact on your decision to do it. But yeah, can you, as the slide says, can you break down your thought process on getting into TikTok or?
It didn't cost me any money to get the MySpace or the Friendster or the Facebook or the Instagram account or the YouTube account or the TikTok account. I would sign up for whatever the new one was because why not? And I would post a few things because I've got 9 productive hours in a day and I'm not using them all productively. So what's 15 minutes to set up a TikTok account? And just in case somebody else wanted to get the at party machines, I made sure they couldn't. And I put some videos to make it work. And I posted a few times. Then I had the I'm sorry, let me do better. I had the 2 young people who were managing my social media, doing my Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook. And and I still do most of the YouTube stuff. And I said, hey, TikTok. He's like, yeah, I'll get an account. I'm like, come on, dude. I've been doing this for a long time. He's like, of course you do. Give me the login. So then he started posting once a day, the same stuff that was going on everything about a month before the pandemic started. And then he got a viral video. He went to 3 times a day. Then it started growing. I think I had no trepidation. All I know is that something's better than nothing and it doesn't cost me anything or hurt me. When I hear somebody say something negative about something that has nothing to do with anything, I stop listening to them because they're just making noise. It's like saying, how's the weather? Um, because and I said this, and I was talking, I think, to Adam Tate, my buddy. We waited tables together a way long time ago at Macaroni Grill, and our our journeys have grow together. And we would joke about when by the time anybody else got into doing whatever it is I was doing, I would be so far ahead of them on the internet with content that it wouldn't even be fair. And that's where I am now. I don't look and but and I tell these customers, they're like, what's the difference between you and John's phone company? I'm like, well, I don't know because I don't all I do is pay attention to John's webgility stuff. Well, he says he's better than you. I'm like, that'd be really cool if he has more TikTok followers than me, or if he has more followers on whatever it is.
The
Because I
proof is in the
win.
pudding.
Yeah. So, oh, and Amazon and WebGility, I do want to plug that. I wouldn't be able to do the Amazon if I didn't have the WebGility because I used to spend a day a month entering my invoices. Because yesterday I saw 160 some odd items on Amazon. Those automatically, with no work, get synced into my QuickBooks because of WebGility.
We
So I
love to
love
hear
it.
that.
So thank you,
We
John. Yeah.
we love to hear the hey, we don't have to shamelessly plug if somebody else plugs us. So that's great.
No, you know, and I tell and what's your time worth? I mean, it was a day a month. And you got to have good record keeping, and you got to have good record keeping for when you want that business line of credit, because then you've made it.
Yeah, business line of credit is a good it's a
It
signifier
doesn't
of how things are going. Just like you said, when you check your bank account, it's a good way to tell that you're on your way.
it doesn't show up on my personal credit reporting. That's magical because of WebGility allowing me to put all those entries into QuickBooks effortlessly. The the numbers people get to see the good numbers and give me a business line of credit, which I get to use and not affect my personal credit.
Nice. We love that. Thank you for that. That's great. That's exactly what we shoot for is saving people time, saving people money, making things a little easier for everybody. So that's awesome. As far as TikTok goes, what sort of issues do you run into on the platform, or do you run into issues? Is it something that you have to navigate a whole lot of? I know that there's specifically with like this is more TikTok shop related, but there's a lot of like legal stuff that people have to jump through to make sure that they're selling um, uh, in line with the policies that TikTok has in place. But do you ever run into anything like that?
I'm not selling on TikTok. We set that up when it was brand new, and I gave up. And next week I've got a meeting with somebody to help me do it, to set up my TikTok shop for the bath bombs and the shower cleaners. Legal, sure, there's always something to do. I want to comment on Sean's third-party resellers will kill your margins on Amazon, police the platform and keep them off to hold your price points. Um, my products are unique, so that doesn't affect me. I would need a very specific something. I would think maybe if I was selling this glass and it was Greg's glass and third party resellers would, I mean, there's no rule that says they can't, but if they sell it as party machines, which I have, Sean, I've had somebody selling a foam machine from China and they call them foam party machines and they can't do that because I own the trademark. So I got them turned off and that took about a minute and a half of my life. So I felt really, really, really like King Kong when I spent 90 seconds to get somebody's listing kicked off. And they came back, which is fine, but they stopped calling it by my name.
Yeah, it's to your point, Sean. Yeah, I think it's definitely it's important to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of at the very least on especially on marketplace platforms. So I know we
Yeah.
mentioned don't pay too much attention to competition, but definitely do your due diligence and make sure that you're one not being like slandered against
Well,
the law.
Amazon, I own the trademark. I spent time and energy and money on the trademark. So that one's legitimate. And also, other people in the industry or that have come into my industry, they call their stuff phone party machines. And we fire off the same letter. It's pretty powerful. I mean, that's a stamp. It's a
Yeah, you got to
stamp,
throw your weight
and when I
around
hit friends,
every now and then.
yeah, it's like,
I mean,
hey,
you don't
hey,
get to the top by being a pushover, right?
no, McDonald's and Coca-Cola and Disney are suing somebody every day. So, but I mean, we fire off a letter. And the fascinating thing is I get excited. Um, I hear from my customers that those people are always, when we fire off a letter, they talk about us. I'm like, yes, yes. Any press is good press.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Any advice for people looking to, or I guess maybe hesitant to start a TikTok or get involved in the social media aspect of running a business?
Make a list, make a list, hold yourself accountable. Um, content, content. And you can use a scheduling platform, which is really less painful. Like I use it later, Later, and I schedule for weeks or months at a time. Because I know my moves and I know that I get less motivated in the winter. So from November 1st, I don't have to put anything on social media again until May, because by November, the month of October is when I schedule November, December, January, February, March. I schedule 6 months worth of content inside of about 2 weeks, um, because do it. I'm saying, and do all of the platforms. You can put the same photo or photos or video, but something is better than nothing. So you have to take action, and none of this is easy. I'm 28 years into self-employment. I started making a really good living at about year 21. Um, I love it. 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 Keep your credit good. It's not easy. It's not easy. What do I recommend? Go get a job, work for somebody else. Oh my gosh. It's, but
Yeah, I
I
know when
mean,
we
now
talked like
I'm,
last week, it was like if it was it's the age old saying, what is it? If it was so easy, everybody would do it, right? Like there's a reason
yeah,
you're in business and you got to put in the work and understand that if it were easy, every single person you
oh,
know would have a business.
wait. Sean wrote back. Hang on.
Oh yeah, he was mentioning that they sell houseware items, which is really to your glass point essentially. Um, but yeah, I think that's great, Sean.
Yeah, man, that's not, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued about what Sean's selling. Um, yeah. And also, Sean, I think, I know you're hearing this. You know, you can have a team of people working on your Amazon account. And it is just there's so much within Amazon. And I love it. And that's all part of it, dealing with the yuccos. The yuccos.
There's a lot of yuccos. Um, yeah, and I guess just to sum up most of what we've talked about today, I think it comes full circle in that like when you see an opportunity, whether that be TikTok, whether that be a new, in your case, formula for lowering overhead, kind of revolutionizing your business, whether it's automating using technology like Webgility or anything to make your life easier, it really all comes down to like the scalability and growth of your business. If you see that something is going to make your life easier and it's going to allow you to expand your reach or bring in new customers and give your brand a little bit more exposure, then I think that it's worth at the very least looking into and investing some time in. One thing that I wanted to kind of add to the content sort of thing with TikTok and Instagram or any social media in general, or any sort of content that you're making, if it's an email campaign, marketing campaign, anything, I think it's worth, and you and I talked about this, Greg, using something like ChatGPT to kind of get the wheels turning. Oh, it looks like the wheels are turning for Greg. Yeah, I think
Yes,
investing some
yes,
time in,
yes.
you don't have to pay money for it. You can just say, "Hey, give me a couple prompts for a description or an email campaign or a video that I need to make," and it makes, you don't have to use it verbatim. You don't have to use the email that it writes exactly, but
Yes,
it giving you a jumping off point, I think, is the most important thing.
yes. Perfection. Yeah, it's there. Everything is there for you. I like a list of goals. I like a task list, and then I like holding myself accountable. And then I like yeah, a person or persons to chart my growth with, or to go back and forth with somebody else on the same journey. I have a friend who's a dermatologist, and he started his business not too long after mine, and we share our journey. It's the self-employment thing, the same hiccups. Um, Another friend that sells cars, the same thing. It doesn't matter what the product is, it's business. Oh, and fire the bad customers. I could talk for days. Yeah.
Yeah, bad customers is a whole can of worms that we could go into too. So maybe we'll get back with you
Yeah.
and have a whole nother webinar on that.
This one's really easy. The best time to fire someone is the first time you think about it.
I've never heard that before. I that could be really good and financially sound advice, honestly.
That's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to end the sort of the official presentation with a little bit about influencers. Greg and I talked a little bit about it, and it's something that you're working on currently. It's something that as we kind of talked about it, we realized that it's a new iteration of something that has existed in the past. I liked the example that you used, Susan Summers and what was it was
George
the
Foreman Grill.
George Foreman grill. That's right. I think we all know that celebrity endorsements have existed. It was really, really popular at some point in the past. And now looking at influencers and social media, it's the same thing, just on a smaller yet larger scale. It's a wider net, but the people that are in these pockets or in these industries as an influencer have a lot smaller or narrower of a reach, I guess I should say. So yeah, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about with regards to influencers and just how you're maybe planning on taking advantage of it?
I am so the bath bombs and the shower steamers, which are coming out, and we're coming out strong. Like anything else, most people suck. So to find the good influencers, the good people to start blowing up videos with the stuff, I'm gonna come on strong with that. The phone is on autopilot, and I'm fine with it. I'm going to figure out how to use the influencers with the bath bombs and the shower steamers until it gets on autopilot because there'll be enough people turning in videos because that's what happens with my phone. We've been doing it so long, people sending videos and photos, and I got an email today. It's just, it's the ego stroke. As always, thanks for being right on top of stuff. The best. I'm like, first of all, my ego doesn't need this. Secondly, thank you so much. Thirdly, here's my mom's number. So, um, yeah, it's I got nothing. The influencers are interesting. You just have to like I want Britney Spears or whatever today's version of Britney Spears to sell my stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'm
great.
outdated.
It's something that's new, and I think that's it's worth talking about that like not everybody is going to be entrenched in this level of exposure with influencers yet. So I think that speaks to that point pretty well that even at WebGility, we're sort of doing the same thing. Every business is sort of understanding or coming to the same understanding that um, TV commercials aren't as valuable. There's ad space on streaming services like Netflix and Hulu
Yep.
and I recently spoke to somebody. Oh, I don't know if it was you. The locally syndicated or the like stock news channel that's included on smart TVs. I don't remember who this was now.
It was me. It was
It
me. We
was
were
you.
talking
Yeah.
about
Okay.
that.
I knew it. Yeah. So there's the I'll use my TV as an example. LG has a like an LG channels. It's basically like cable, access cable for people, and people run ads on that specifically, and it's free. And you'll know that people are going to get exposed to it at some point. And it's very similar to the streaming ads and stuff like that. But I think putting your brand out in as many places as you can is super important. But also when it comes to social media, everybody's now coming to the understanding that um, it's more of a force than I think anybody had initially anticipated to see
Yes.
brands and product placement on Instagram or on TikTok. Obviously, a lot of
People
legislation has come out since in the last like 5 years for Instagram and TikTok, but yeah, it's huge now.
people are looking at their phones all day, every day. I talked to my older brother Paul, and he's all. I mean, he. I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, Greg, look, or oh, like he'll do research for me just because he's my older brother. He puts his older brother hat on, and he's like, hey, man, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is always looking at their phones. It's a really good point, and I think it's worth looking into finding somebody that exists within your space, that is credible within your space, and kind of promoting them for bath bombs, for shower steamers and foam and stuff. There's somebody that exists out there that reviews party supplies or reviews beauty and healthcare and stuff like that, and that's sort of the area that you would start looking. So. I
The
definitely think it's
foam,
worth.
the the quantity of foam that I sell is so big that normal customers are writing reviews. That's the math. You want to get to a certain level where they're just doing it on their own and they're
Yeah.
trying to make it.
Yeah, and then when you do get the reviews, re-syndicate those, reuse those in any way that you can to kind of solidify your brand image as you said, Greg, the king of the mountain, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Cool.
yeah. That's it. You tell me what else.
Honestly, that's all I had planned. I think it's a good segue to get into the Q&A. I did have one more poll that I wanted to run just for those of you that are on the call. I wanted to get a feel for the sort of challenges that you think are important to your business and what you maybe might want some more support on or more information on. This allows us to get a good idea of maybe how we want to continue to run these webinars, double click on some of these topics and see again exactly what you guys are looking for in terms of the information that you're wanting to use to fuel your business essentially. um yeah, so we'll give it a couple seconds here, just get everybody some time to respond to the poll, and then if you guys have any questions, anything that you want to ask Greg, anything that you want to ask me, um anything you want to talk about, get off your chest, we can spend a little time doing that. And as usual, from what I'm seeing currently, it's pretty evenly spread, except for manufacturing and storage. None of you care about that, which is fair.
I love the manufacturing.
It's a bit of a boring topic, I think, for most people, but interesting one for sure. All right, and we'll end the poll. It looks like most of you are, as I've kind of suspected in the past, just interested in getting started on new channels. Something that I've sort of been planning for the last half of the year is talking through some of the biggest channels, TikTok, Shopify, Amazon, and understanding how to kind of put your best foot forward in starting on those channels. So sounds like I'm on the right track there. Looks like social media is a big concern for some of you, and then pretty evenly split amongst the rest. So I think we're on the right track. I'll share the results here just so you guys can see them. How can
Social media could take up as much time as you want it to.
Yeah, social media
I
is
don't. I
a
don't envy
big
somebody
beast.
starting. Yeah, I don't envy
Honestly, when it
somebody
comes to
starting.
social media, I would heavily consider hiring a very early 20 something, maybe somebody even 18 or 19 that spends all of their time on their phone and on social media. Cause even like I'm barely 30, just about to turn 31, and I still can't keep up with the trends that are happening on social media and the formats and the way that things are framed. So I think hiring as young of a person as you can for your social media to run it is probably the best way that you
I
can get
say
a
that.
start.
I say that. I say that.
Yeah, and looks like Catherine
I'm looking
said
at
I'm a
chick.
Oh, you're looking at chat too. Yeah, she says I'm a bookkeeper
No, I'm
and I
looking
want
at
to.
chick wrap. Chick
Oh,
wrap.
oh, nice.
It's
Okay,
housewares.
yeah, that's
No, go ahead. Go
Sean's.
ahead. Go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, as Catherine said, I'm a bookkeeper and I'm here to learn how I can better help my ecom client to grow her online business. Awesome. I love that. That's great. You are essentially fitting both of the type of people that WebGility want to have a conversation with, because we
Yeah.
help both bookkeepers and e-commerce owners. So as far as how you're looking to help your client grow, if you want to email me, just john.may at webgility.com. I can point you in a couple directions for resources on how you might be able to better service your client. There's a lot of directions that you can take. That's a pretty broad question for sure, but I'm more than happy to help point you in the right direction. Um, and Sean, yeah, I agree. I think I want to do more of these and kind of shout out our customers. It's sort of our overall goal is to build a community of sellers, successful sellers that can sort of act as like Sherpas on Mount Everest to help you understand where you can take your business and learn from other people that it's not even that they're doing better than you. It's not that they're farther along than you. It's more that it's just like a meeting of the minds. So a lot of business owners coming together to talk about how they tackle problems, how they view the market, of whatever industry that might be, and everybody can learn from each other. So if anybody on this call is interested in doing one of these and having one of these conversations, just shoot me a message. I am more than happy to get that up and running.
I think Sean knows this, but and this is for John. When you've got a yucky customer being yucky to you, you're not special. That they're that way to everybody. So it's okay to
Definitely.
fire them. My
Yeah,
mom, who was in
usually
sales for
problematic
50
people
years,
aren't
taught
just
me that.
problematic with one other person, right?
No, you're not special. I went yesterday. You're going to get your money back. What are you? No, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm giving you your money back. Please move on.
I love that. That's great. Um, cool. Well, we are basically right at time. If anybody else has any questions, speak now or not forever hold your peace, but hold until the next webinar. But I appreciate everybody coming out today. Greg, I super appreciate the conversation. I would love to continue working with you some more here in the future. So anything you need, just let me know.
That goes both ways.
Perfect. Perfect. I think we're also working with Greg on a case study here, so we'll go over some of the more topics that we covered in today's webinar, just how he got his start, how he views his business and his thought process there. So I'm sure you guys will all get a link to that case study. But again, thanks everybody for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a good weekend.